Now, you may be wondering how a mayor ends up in here in front of GEOINT. The geospatial portion is a mapping section of it, and the intelligence portion has never been put with our elected officials. So this mayor is just trying to work across that and get a little bit smarter. But we started years ago. We started with a cyber group, we started with a geospatial group, with an energy group, and with a biotech group. And all those were used to develop the talents that we already had in our town, the technology that we already had in our city, and to use that to leverage it into more jobs and to become more of a center of excellence in their area. And so we started off with working with Exemplar City, and last year we talked about Exemplar City. We briefed on the new concept that's out there with Exemplar City. And in the short time since we've done this, we've been consulting with 2 NGA directors. We've conducted numerous field exercises, and we've had co-development of activities. And that's one of the things that is, oops, there you go. That is one of the things that is very good that we've been able to find, is that we co-develop these. We co-develop them with our industry, with our academia, we co-develop them with our government. And so we work together to put together a system that is, as we call it, the blueprint. Using the blueprint or using the model that uses a geospatial platform that is open source for everybody that can help you in a disaster situation. The information exchange helps us. There we go. There we go. The information exchange helps us keep citizens safe, keeping responders safe, mitigating threats and hazards, and we can expedite response and recovery from disasters. That is very important to us. When we look at the response to emergencies, response time is one of the things that means lives. Every day, cities like ours face common challenges providing proper response and protecting our infrastructure and safeguarding our citizens. When we look at it, our goal is to build safe, secure, and sustainable communities. And we want to share the plan because our plan that we have has commonality across the board. The plan that works in Huntsville, Alabama also works in Spokane, Washington. There's some uniqueness to it to make sure that they have the same safety, security, sustainability, but it works across America. You know, when we start looking at this, we were kicked off with this with April 27th. That was one day when our city was greatly impacted by one of the most violent and widespread and deadly tornado outbreaks in the United States history. It crippled many major systems. And when you look at it, what was the impact of it? Power went down, transmission lines went down, data transmission lines went down, our financials went down, couldn't do financial transactions, our comm lines went down. All those failed, and when they failed, we started looking, how can we do this better? How can we start developing the playbook to keep those failures from happening and also to make sure that all of our communities were safe. One of the things that happened, the city's infrastructure was totally wiped out. And we found out that the city's infrastructure is central to all operations and services and its vital role to our safety. Also, we saw that a single point of failure can have a devastating consequences across a wide area. 37,000 people come in and work at Redstone Arsenal every day. At Redstone Arsenal, we do 80% of the missile defense work. We do Army Material Command, so everything that is bought, eaten, worn, shot, and driven by the Army comes through Army Material Command. But we found out very quickly, if one of those single points of failures happened and we couldn't get those 37,000 people to work, we could not continue the work of Redstone Arsenal, a national security problem. So we turned to tech, and we turned to high tech, and we turned to it on the geospatial platform. And so we turned to it using technology that played a role to get it right, get the right information to the right person at the right time. You know, one thing that we found out through this whole process was that information can save lives. Information can speed response, and information also drives the decision making. data from our sensors and from our monitor infrastructure was able to monitor infrastructure, our water levels, our sanitation networks, our traffic networks, crowds and air quality. This gave us some real-time data so that we could respond to the crisis that was happening and respond quickly and make decisions. And one thing we found for sure, if traffic networks were not working, all of a sudden you could not get those 37,000 people who worked on Redstone Arsenal to Redstone Arsenal to do the job that they have to do day to day. We can't prevent everything, but we can prepare. And that became our motto. We wanted to prepare. And we wanted to prepare using the technology of big data, using geospatial technology, open platforms, and building resilience into our city infrastructure helped us fend off damage, and it helps us to improve response times and speed up recovery. You know, when we look at all this, for every time that we start working on this kind of system, we tried to pull together our three groups. We pulled together energy because it was reliable, sustainable sources that had to be in place to keep this from happening again, the same thing that happened in 2011. We pulled in cyber because if we didn't have cyber, we have to run from the threats of cyber attacks. And cyber attacks was very closely aligned to exactly what happened when those tornadoes came through. We created 3 diverse initiatives focusing on energy, cyber, and geo, and we found that they all link together, they all work together. You know, Huntsville, when we work in Huntsville, we try to work together. We believe in partnerships. We believe in fostering collaboration, and we believe in working with other cities so that we can share and expand our knowledge and innovation and approach of what we are calling Exemplar City. And this Exemplar City is the blueprint for safety. It is the model on how to respond to a natural disaster. But more than that, it has a commonality that runs all the way through it. We can make our model here, Spokane, Washington can make their model there, and each of us can take that commonality and then add our unique tweaks to it to make sure that each of our communities craft it to their own needs. Exemplar City builds upon the work done by the 3 initiatives to create projects and opportunities. And the objective is to build a safe, secure, and sustainable community using a location-based technology foundation. Now that's a lot of words to say that we're using our geospatial platform to make sure that we can move forward. Exemplar City is testing how we can integrate geospatial technology and creating the new best practices for information sharing and how to do it as quickly as possible. You know, what we have found is that it's just not what needs to be known, but it's what we need to know and when. How quickly we can get that information is what makes us move forward. And then also, we can speed development of Exemplar City. Through Geo Huntsville, we're collaborating with Energy and Cyber Huntsville, local government agencies, and as well as 3 universities. And one of those universities was named a Center of Excellence here at the conference yesterday. Our blueprint for safety last year are 3 initiatives, Geo, Cyber, and Energy Huntsville, combined efforts to build our blueprint for safety, which delivers the right information at the right time to the right people within our public safety community. Our playbook plans are populated by the divisions within each of those movements, whether it's police, fire, GIS, planning, EMS, all of those populate those maps. And when we populate those maps, all of a sudden we have our game plan laying out there. And that game plan is open source so that anybody can come in and look at that game plan. If something happens in our community, somebody from the state level or the federal level can look forward. Our pilot objective is that technology is now on the front lines of city safety. Data sets are being used to anticipate crime limits and limit the spread of disease and to monitor the infrastructure. We are coordinating with a citywide resilience through technology demonstrations and putting these methods in place through tabletop exercises. And we've had a number of the tabletop exercises. What we've found is that we have to plan, we have to prepare, and we have to practice together. By planning, preparing, and practicing, we can be ready when something happens. And through Exemplar City, we are increasing our coordination between cities. We're planning everything just a little bit smarter. Using the technology helps us to make things a little bit smarter. Transportation systems, water, energy, we can find what response we have to those and how we can get to recovery quicker. We are creating a test bed to bring together public safety stakeholders, technologists, and industry to build workflows, share information, and use new technology and methods for response planning. Why Huntsville? A lot of people have asked that. Why Huntsville? One of the things of why Huntsville is because we had the event of 2011 when tornadoes came through, and it gave us a look of what we have to do to make our city that much safer. But Huntsville's workforce also supports the backbone of national security and energy independence. We have the second largest research park in America. And we have a public safety community which is fully engaged in integrating new technology and methods into operations. Using those public information groups, using those public safety groups is very essential to populating your maps and making sure that your blueprint becomes something of a reality. New technology requires new policies. Oh, we've heard this time and time again. Body cams are one of the issues that is affecting us and that we're looking at right now as cities all the way across the United States is looking at it. How do we put them in? How do we make sure who has access to them? How do we make sure our access is the proper access in them? The video surveillance market is now estimated to be worth $38 billion by 2015. And we're seeing mass rollout of these wearable camera technologies, and hacking is a problem. So now our cyber area has to work into what we're finding on the safety area and figure out how we can make sure that we have that safety, that our networks are secure and technologically working. Technology is assisting us in the real-time situational awareness and information sharing. And it's tracking the location, resources, plotting actions of responders, and monitoring their proximity to the hazard that are all now possible. You know, as we look through this, technology has increased our information exchange, and it's reduced response times, it's reduced redundant efforts, and it's helped to keep our responders out of harm's way. Technology can reduce the threat of crime. Big data is used to help track and predict crime, and it provides a better use of resources. Some unique technology examples: smart streetlight systems and cameras that can detect unusual noise, shouting, and gunfire, and notify police, allowing them to come and provide safety. The UK's Design Against Crime system are some of the projects that have already taken place. We use Exemplar City not only when disaster happens, but we use it across the board when we find a need for it. You know, this whole effort started as a local vision. How can we do things better? How can we make sure that our community works better? And then it's moved to a descriptive data to predictive data, and then we made it to develop into a successful and repeatable measures in achieving a safe and healthy community. We've been able to find some of the best practices, and we've been able to take some of those lessons learned and pass them on to some of our neighbors. And by doing this, we're able to see that we are a growing city, and our growing city is able to provide services for a growing number of citizens and with their required resources. One of the things we always realize is you never have enough money for these. Budgets never seem to keep up with the demand on resources. One way of stretching our dollars has been what we've been able to partner with the NGA with this open data and open source methods. And we want to thank the NGA today for allowing us to do that, to use their open source and open data. By using that system, we have been able to put the model there and been able to put a transparent model there that not only our community can use, that other communities can use. The pilot project for the Blueprint for Safety is now rolling out. I think we talked about it a year ago, and it's now rolling out, and the open source is now providing collaboration on a worldwide web scale. It's allowing us to build workflows to suit our needs while contributing code back to the source for others to use with no licensing required. We can experiment with ideas in days rather than weeks or months. It's allowed us to collect data and the local level to share with the federal level. Local governments should have most of the burden on response, and we have the expertise in our cities. When you look at it, as we shoulder that burden, our fire department, our police department, our EMA, our planning, our GIS, we share that burden, but we also share information. And by sharing information, when we have one of those problem times when the federal government has to come in and help us, which is about 3% of the time in disaster response, when we have those problem times, we can make sure that they can come in quickly, they can assess quickly, they can see what is happening in our community, and using this open source, it helps them do that. Huntsville and Exemplar City support industry engagement and encourage public-private partnerships to foster policy for a higher level of engagement with industry and the public at large. And as we see this collaboration, we collaborate in a forum with cities across the nation. And that's what this whole system is about. It's about collaboration. If we see it as a perfect opportunity to build partnerships at all levels of government, in academia and in industry, and to build an agile development with acquisition streams that we can create a playbook to be used by others, a playbook to be used by ourselves, and a playbook to be used across this country. One of the things that we've done in partnership is make sure that our partnership includes government, industry, academia. And part of that government is not only local government, it is state government, it is federal government, it is the NGA and the USGIF. It's open collaboration with the federal, state, and local agencies, the GitHubs. By the development and the use of the GitHub, it's helped us gain ground faster and more efficiently. So how can we help? And how can you help? One of the things is that we all have a lot in common. We are members of local communities, each one of us are. And being members of that local community, we know that sometimes there's disasters and we need help. 85% of all those events occur and are responded to exclusively by local agencies. 10 to 11% of those involve state and regional resources. And 1 to 3% of those events involve federal resources. And those are the ones that you never want to see come to your community, because I've seen them. And when they come to your community, you know that you have a problem that you're going to have to step up, and that it's going to be a long-term problem. But when you see that happen, and you have something like the Blueprint for Safety, or you have the Exemplar City, you're able to move forward through this process and move forward very quickly, because the federal government is able to look through your open sources and see what you're seeing. They see the problems that you see, and they quickly can bring the resources to bear that need to be coming forward. So, what can we do? We can engage with us to improve our model. And we would love for you to come by our booth here and come by and see what we have been able to do with Exemplar City. In Huntsville, we're working to refine processes, and we're refining the process so that we can get to emergencies quicker, faster, and help each other more. And we're also discovering new opportunities. You know, it's very exciting in Huntsville that we've been able to use collaborative design. We've been able to use collaborative design and collaborate with others for the careful consideration that we can reduce threats. And we're asking each of you to join our efforts. You know, technology can help. Sharing information is a key, but collaboration is critical to creating communities that are safe, secure, and sustainable. We invite you to join us, and to join us at geohuntsville.org or see us at booth 9063, because this is one of the plans that comes out of using a geospatial platform and using technology that can make communities safer, more secure, and a little bit better. And it's one that we can work together throughout this process. Thank you very much.
Thanks for a terrific presentation. I felt like we were flying through Huntsville there.
You get whiplash with that kind of
do.
Yes, you do.
We have some great questions coming in. Thank you. So the first one I'd like you to address is, what is the biggest GEOINT challenge in Huntsville?
The biggest GEOINT challenge in Huntsville is that we're all volunteers. When you look across the board, we have something like 160 people working, probably 30 or 40 companies working, and everybody is a volunteer. But where that is one of the biggest inhibitors, that's also one of the greatest things that happen. Because as volunteers, we all come together and we all work together for a common good, for the community. And in taking that, we can now go to the people who aren't volunteers, the people in my fire department, the people in my police department, the people in my emergency management agency, the people who are who may be in my GIS and my planning, and we can combine with those so that we have people who have boots on the ground experience and we have expertise, and that expertise comes across. But the volunteers are the ones that have really made a difference in this, and we've got a great group of volunteers who have made this happen.
Okay, this follow-on question is very much related to your volunteer issue. So, if I'm reading this correctly, what disciplines and competencies have you identified that are critical to modernize the workforce to function within this model? Cyber, biodata, information technology, project management?
Yeah, let me give you one example. Protocols. When we sit and look at protocols, right now, when the April 27th tornadoes came through 2011, we knew we had a problem because those 37,000 people working at Redstone Arsenal, which is part of the national security plan, could not get to work. And not getting to work was a compromising of national security in our minds. But there is no need to know, there is no top secret, there is no half secret or no somewhat secret clearance for local elected officials. So all of us were sitting there and we were looking at the problem, but we couldn't get full clearance to know the full extent of the problem out at Redstone Arsenal. It's a protocol issue. On local level, state level, you don't have the same type of clearances that you have on the national level for secret, top secret, ultra top secret, and eyes only. But so we found that as one of the problems that you would have in there, and it's protocol. Protocol also says, you know, how do we make sure that our community, that when we do assessments, and we do assessments that find vulnerabilities in our community, who needs to see those? And what assessment do you need to do to that to make sure that the proper people see them in the community, but the people who also can make sure that that vulnerability is not made known to the rest of the world? So some of those were protocol, and I think protocol was probably the biggest problem that we had.
Okay, we have a two-part question here.
Okay.
Apparently the crowd
I have to write down too.
Yeah, it's pretty engaging. So back earlier on a slide, you had the word sustainability. So the question, two parts, how have you created sustainability in Huntsville, and how does the sustainability relate to Geo Huntsville? Okay.
Portions of the sustainability, and sustainability in my mind comes a couple of ways. Number one, sustainability in energy. When we lost power, we lost power, we lost our traffic grid, we lost our ability to do financial transactions, we lost the power to pump gas, we lost the power to run oxygenators for people who are on oxygen. We ran through all that, and so that's sustainability. So how do we keep the arsenal a little bit more sustainable? And one of the things that we've done, we years ago in the 80s, we had a steam to garbage plant where burnt garbage made steam, made low pressure steam. We use that steam to run chillers out at the arsenal. Now we're taking it to make high pressure steam so that we can actually produce electricity that will provide electricity to the arsenal, and it gives you enough electricity to run off of. Secondly, part of the planning that comes out of this is which traffic grids are so important to keep open? Which roads do you have to keep open so you can get those 37,000 people into work and you can get them back? How do you make sure that your police and your fire know that these are the roadways that need to be kept open, and that you need to have people at these intersections to keep the traffic flow going so that those 37,000 people can get into work and provide us national security? That's one of the flows that you get out of the geospatial platform, is that you've already mapped those. You already know where they are. You know where the triage areas are. You know where your ambulances need to set up. You have all that set up beforehand. You know where your feeding stations need to be, because there are times when you have low-income areas or other areas that need feeding. You have to make sure that you have those. You have those already set up on your geospatial platform so that you know where you're going, you know what you're doing. As soon as it hits, you bring this out and you have the plan or you have the playbook.
Okay, we have one last question for you.
Okay.
I know, it feels like you're being grilled up here, right? All right, what other cities are doing this kind of thing, and are you working together with them? Like, is New York doing this? Is LA?
We have not seen, everybody does their planning and their planning systems, and everybody does their tabletop exercises and everything else. But a comprehensive plan that comes together, that's our hope that we end up out of this, is that we have a comprehensive plan that we can do for our community, but we can also take this comprehensive plan and take it off the shelf and put it in New York. And New York can tweak it and make it adapt to their system. And you can put it in Boston, or you can put it in Albany, Georgia. You can put it in a number of places, and each time we take the common elements out of it, and you cure the common elements, but you also put your special community touches to it, so that everybody has their own blueprint for safety. They have their own exemplar city, so that we have a safe, secure environment. That is our hope out of this, is that we can make a model that can be transported out throughout the United States. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Could I have a round of applause, please, for Mayor Battle?
Thank you.